Okay then guys, so we're starting a new project today down in Melksham in the West Country. Let's just have a quick look at the products we're going to be using here today. Marshall's Alluri limestone, lovely rustic ochre colour, packed full of features. What a beautiful stone. And then we got these lovely Marshall's porphyry sets, Italian sets, lovely colours. Looking forward to this one. Some really nice natural material. There's our digger waiting to go in, so let's just go and show you the size of the job we're working on today. It's not a big one, but there's some good detail going into this job. So what we're going to show you on today's project, and as we go through and make progress, is just how we do this step by step, what kind of things we're going to be looking for at what stages, and how we can get to our end result. So with that, let's get going. Okay, so first job that we're going to do is we're going to transpose our plan, what we're doing, our design, our concept, whatever you've got. We're going to spray that out onto the floor, first of all onto the grass, so we can just get a better feel for the job. Now on this job, my clients were pretty good, pretty focused on what they wanted already. So my job now is just to go around, plot these points out onto the garden with some white spray marker, just so I can get a feel for what's going on. Then we're going to move on to the next stage of what we do just before we start excavating and getting down to our foundation depths. Okay, so I'll spend a little bit of time now, go through this, and we'll have a look what it looks like in a minute. Okay, so there we are, everything's sprayed out, ready to go. Let's just walk through and see if we can make sense of this. Grass is a bit long, so it might be difficult to fully see everything. So I don't know if you can quite see. Oh, my tape measure died. Brilliant. I don't know if you can quite see. So what we've got here is we've got a big 4x4 metre square, which will become the new main patio. It then transitions into a 3 metre circle here with some of those lovely cobbles that we looked at earlier for a feature. Then we've got a cobble path that's going to take us right up to our top into a small little semicircle seating area. And then another cobble path that takes us to the side. So all the grass that's left outside of our hard landscaping will become a new bedding area. So what we're going to do with that is we're going to strip off the grass, we're going to turn over the soil by about sort of 6 to 8 inches deep, add some soil conditioner, and that will help the client with their new plants when they get there. So next thing we need to think about is, are there any obstructions in our site that we can see just with a visual looking over, just checking for any hazards at the moment. So on this job, I'm quite lucky, I suppose. We've got a wall, you can just see there's a van outside there, so that'll be our exit out for all of our spoil. So we're going to create a nice big pile over here somewhere. Our lorry can come in, take all that away, and offload us some scalpings at the same time, so that'll be fantastic. So no hazards there, no overhead cables. What else can we see? Right, so we can see straight away we've got a cable coming out of the garage here. If we then look up onto the house, we can see we've got another cable in there. Now we're not touching this patio. This original patio is going to stay, but we do need to have a little bit of a dig down there and see if we can track that cable, because we don't want to hit it. Other than that, just walking around. Normally back gardens, you're fairly safe. However, when you are using a digger, the key is always to take it down slowly. So what I'll do to start with, when I get the digger in here, I'm going to start just by pulling off all of my turf. Then what we're going to be doing is having to dig this area here by the wall first, because this is where I want to have my stockpile of spoil. So I need to get this area dug out first to the right depth, stock that in there. Then I know that everything else that I dig can just be transferred over onto that pile. Lorry can come and take it, and we'll be good to go. So there we are. With that said, I think it's time to get the digger in and let's break some ground. So the other thing we need to think about is water runoff. Where is our surface water going to go? Because remember, we're putting in new hard landscaping here, so we're going to catch a larger volume of water, and it needs to be directed somewhere. Now on this job, we're fairly lucky, I suppose, because all these areas shown in green, these are going to be new borders and planters. and we're already working off the existing patio, which does already have a slight fall away from the house here. So what we can do now is we can just work all of our falls, making sure that we can disperse the extra surface water runoff into our bedding areas that are shown here in green. That's normally a good solution. We're using a porous stone here, so we're using limestone. So they're going to absorb a certain amount of water, and a certain amount of water is going to migrate through the surface. If you were looking at something like porcelain, so perhaps we're doing porcelain in all these areas instead of limestone flags, then perhaps I might think about saying to the customer, let's introduce some drainage, because we know the porcelain water's not necessarily going to be able to migrate up and down through our slab. So we're going to have to think a little bit more about water management, especially as we're getting heavier and heavier downfalls. Apparently we're on the cusp of a European monsoon, first time I've heard that. Anyway, so that's what we're doing. We're considering our drainage as we dig. So it's really important when you're doing your excavation, you want to excavate to the same falls that you're going to be putting in your new paving. Just makes everything really easy, and just think about it in layers. We get our first layer right, which is our excavation, then we get our stone right, and then we get our paving right. It all starts from the bottom and goes up. So let's get on. Okay, so we've started our dig out. If you just saw the time-lapse video, you might have noticed that the ground was coming away really quickly. I was trying to just take it down in stages, and then clumps were coming up. So just give you a little bit of context on this job. This is a new build in Melksham in the West Country. I'm from the area, so I know, particularly I know this estate quite well. And I know that generally speaking, they haven't done too bad with the groundworks in terms of building the house up. So what was happening just a minute ago as I was digging, big clumps of it were coming off. So if we just come in and have a look on the camera, and we can see the reason for that is because it's a new build, there's a clear separation between our subgrade soil and our topsoil that's been imported. Now for most jobs, as standard, you'll start off with your excavation around about 6 inches. Normal guideline that allows you for 100 mil of your type 1, and then you've got your slab and your laying course. Now because I know this area quite well, and because I know they're new builds, I already go in with a higher spec on my quote. So really what I'm looking to do is go about 200 mil and then see what the ground's like. So this one's kind of done me a favour. The way it's just all peeled off the ground there, going onto this firm surface, which is what the entire estate and the gardens, everything we've built up from this. So I can now sort of say to myself, right, actually, I'm pretty confident that I can just go ahead and dig out all my hard landscaping area and just take it right down to this original dig. If we have a look at my broken tape measure, sod's law, tape measures never seem to last for landscapers. They're out in all weathers, grit, sand, cement, loads of bits of dust go in there. When it's had it, it's had it. But look, the numbers still work, so we'll carry on. So if we just have a look, make sure that's nice and flat there. At the moment, we are at 245 mil, just about. So I'm happy with that. I'm happy that I know that I'm going to get at least 6 inches of type 1 underneath this one with our geotextile membrane against the dug earth. So this one actually now for us is fairly simple one. We don't need to keep worrying about measuring and getting our tape out. We'll just go ahead and we'll dig down to that original ground that the site was built off. If we find any problems along the way, we'll deal with them as and when. But let's get cracking. All right, so a hazard we've seen on this job already is we've got this electric cable that's obviously feeding the garage. Now what I don't want to do is I don't want to start digging with the digger here, because I don't want to find that cable in two halves, especially as this client is currently away, so I just don't want that problem to deal with. So what we're going to do is we're just going to trace it. There's various things you could use. You could use a Jenny, a CAT scan and a Jenny. You know, these machines that will go around, beep, 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 tell you where your cable roughly goes, in what direction. But this is only a back garden. I'm probably not expecting this to be terribly deep. Hopefully it is. But just by uncovering the ground around it, we can start just to have a better look. We're trying to find out two things. A, which direction does it run? And B, how deep is it? Hopefully, it looks like it might be deep enough for us that we can work around it. Even better, ideal. So look guys, well worth just spending a minute to have a look. So brilliant. So cable goes down. Guys have done a good job here. They've put it into some ducting. Now, a fair assumption would be that ducting is going to continue to wherever this cable is going, presumably to the house. We can't necessarily rely on that though, so what we're going to have to do is just be careful when we're coming around this area, making sure that we're not trying to scoop out the whole garden in one dig, that we're just taking it down so that we can identify problems as we get there. Let's just get this lump out of the way. We wanted to find that cable. We found a ducting, absolutely brilliant. So what I'm going to do is just spend another couple of minutes just digging around here just to see if I can see a bend and try and find out which direction that goes to. Okay, so if we have a look at our pipe, I haven't quite exposed the full bend yet, because actually I'm pretty confident this is going to be well below the scope of our work here. If we can see that pipe, you see it's just starting to bend off, so that tells me exactly what I thought. It goes over to the wall there where we can see the cable coming up. This is the same supply. That looks pretty deep, so I can be fairly confident, but still taking it down in stages, trying to be sensible with it. Let's crack on. So here we are, day 2 on our Melksham project. We had a really good bite on this job yesterday. We've got it all dug out and we've got our spoil there ready for our grab lorry to come this morning. He's going to pull up alongside this wall, drop off some type 1 for us and then take that away. So that pile there, 12 to 15 tons maybe. It's always difficult to judge with soil because you've got an increased volume as opposed to scalpings where you've got denser material and you've got weight. But yeah, hopefully there's a decent grab in there. So our next stage, we're just getting ready for it now, is we're going to start laying our membrane, our Geotextile membrane. Now we always use this white stuff. Well, we always use it more recently, should I say. This is non-woven Taram 1000, I believe is the brand. The reason why we're using this white non-woven stuff is because it's fully permeable. It's going to allow the water to escape from your sub base. And that's particularly important when we're talking about domestic patios where our sub base is 6-8 inches, somewhere around about there. And we're thinking about maybe the water table. In the winter, the water table is going to come up. We're just thinking about the movement of water, throughout our laying course and our sub base. The problem with the black stuff is the black stuff doesn't let the water through freely. So what will happen is you're going to trap it, not just trap water that comes down, water that potentially is coming up from that water table, and you're going to trap it and it's just going to start causing some problems to your sub base. So in the interest of longevity, use the white non-woven membrane. Yes, it is more expensive, and hold my hands up, a couple of years ago I was using that black stuff everywhere, but look, you live, you learn, you take note of what people are saying, you understand the process, you try and understand the science of what's going on, and you adjust. That's life, and that's certainly the life of landscaping, particularly in 2023 when everything's changing. So our lorry's going to come along shortly, take all of that away for us, put our type 1 in, and then we're going to start thinking about building our foundation up, and we'll look at that when we get there. Okay, so we've moved on to the next stage. Our grab lorry's been in, he's dropped off for us some type 1. We'll just have a look at our type 1 a minute, what we're getting. So local to us, type 1 is going to be limestone based. So we've got some bits of limestone in here. It goes right the way down to small stuff. And then you've got what we call the fines, like the dusty type material. That's what we need in our type 1. That's what's going to bind everything together and get a good compaction. We did push on a little bit and forgot to video what we were doing. So what we've got, guys, is we spoke about our white membrane. We've got our white membrane that we've put underneath the ground. We've then just gone ahead and we've put on about a 3-inch layer. This is just our base layer. Really, really important when you're doing your type 1 base that you're building it up in layers. That way you know that each layer is going to be fully compacted. And also another really important part is the size of your compactor. All right, if you're a DIYer, chances are if you go into a hire shop and you ask for a compactor, a whacker plate, they're going to bring out this little baby thing, a toy, maybe a 12-inch plate. It's just not going to be good enough. You know, if you're a contractor and all you've got is a small whacker, that's fine, you can do the job, but these layers, you've then got to look at maybe doing 50mm layers at a time, and loads of passes. So what we generally do, a pass, by the way, a pass is the amount of times that you go over that area and you've compacted it. So once we've gone all the way around all the areas here, that's one pass. I like to do 3 passes per layer. Normally we're building up 3 or 4 layers, so you know, straight away we know we're getting really, really good compaction as we're building it all up and we're compacting all the way down. Back to my point with your compactor, it's got to have a certain amount of weight on it. Otherwise it's really only going to just do the top, and you'll think that it's done, but it's not. All underneath, nothing that's compact. So we've got this low mag compactor. This one's a bit of a beast. She's about 95 kilograms, so it's definitely a 2-man lift. You know, big boys toys and all that kind of things. It's a really good whacker. This one will do most driveways as well. It will actually compact probably a deeper layer than 75mm. The compaction rate on it says it will compact up to 100mm layer, but again, I just like to go down. We go to about 75mm on the logic of by the time we've run the whacker over, we're probably going to get about 10-15mm compaction out of that, and then we can just build up again, up and up and up as we go. So next job now is to get this layer whacked in, and then we'll probably start thinking about bringing it up to towards our final height, and we'll show you how we do that in the next video. Cheers. So we are now day 4 on our Melksham job. We've lost a day and a half to some really rather wet weather last week. So just have a quick pan around and see where we are. This morning I've just spent a bit of time and just pegged out all of my edges, all my corner points, so we can just replot this job now that we've got something firm to walk off. Just a top tip when you're working with putting your type 1 base in heavy rain. For me, it's just not worth it. Once you start trying to compact your first layer in heavy rain, all the water's going to come up. So really what you're better off doing when it's heavy rain and it's caught you at that wrong time, just leave your scalpings in a pile, let the water and everything just travel through it, come back again on a dry day. You're just sort of fighting the elements. There's only a few times in landscaping where the rain's going to stop you. For me, that's one of them. Anyway, moving on, we got to catch up. So what we need to figure out is now starting to peg out for our final finished levels, and we're obviously trying to make sure that we've got a correct fall on that. So the first thing that I'm going to do, this patio originally for the house is going to stay, so that's my datum, that's my fixed point of information now, and I want to work everything away from that. Coming off of this patio, we've got a path, we've got a circular feature, we've got another patio, so we just need to make sure all the water's going away. So the first job I'm going to do is just get my receiver, make sure everything's on. Yep, good. And I'm just going to move it up and down my staff until I'm getting into my range. There we go. So on my receiver here, I've got 2 little arrows, one going up, one going down, tells me where to go. There I am, there's my solid line, that's what I want. So I'm going to look at my staff, and that's 169. Don't worry too much about all these different numbers. We're just, again, looking for a datum, a fixed point of information that we can work from. So that's 169. So going down the garden, I know that I want this to fall away. Now, we've already got guidelines for what our falls should be. All right, if we're working with something like a natural stone, we can go for a 1 in 80. So for every units of measurement, we can drop 1 unit of measurement to get our full. Porcelain, we'll go a bit harder on that 1 in 60. So what I'm going to look at somewhere here is, I've got that in my head already. Those are my two ratios for my fall. I'm going to basically sort of just find a common place within my site that works for me. We're using all natural stone. So as long as I'm between 1 in 60, 1 in 80, I know I'm pretty good. So I've already measured this out this morning. I do need to tweak my levels a little bit more, because what I don't want is everything coming this way, hitting a wall, it's got nowhere to go. So I'm only going to go as far as this path. That's going to be my main line going down. I've already measured this, that's 20 inches. So if I divide that by 60, if I go for a 1 in 60, just to start to see where we are, that's going to give me about 85 mil. I think it's 83 mil technically, but we're going to go for just 85 just to make it easier on our sums. So going from that point I was on before, 169, in order to get a full, this to be lower, I've got to go up the staff, right? I hope that makes sense. So I'll go 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 5. 1, 6, 1, 5. Again, don't really care about what those numbers actually mean. It's just my information point. So then what I'm going to do is I've fixed that onto my staff, and I just want to have a look first of all. So on my pin I've set out, which will be one of my corners, I'm just going to raise this now until I can start to hear the beeping. Okay, again looking for that solid beep. Now what I do is I just get a little bit of insulation tape, and I'm just going to put that on the bottom of my staff. Where is that telling me, up or down? Just down a touch there. There we go. And if we're going to use a laser, we might as well be as accurate as we possibly can. So this at the moment is set on a 1 in 60 full. I've already got a couple of inches, or about 3 inches I suppose, of scalpings, a couple of layers of 50 mil, and that went down to about 3 inches. So I've already got that to work off. So what I'm going to do now is just pull my my dipstick measurement up to the tape that I've just used, and I can see there that I've got about 160 mil to the top of my line. So now I'm going to start thinking about what material I'm working with. We've got two different types here. We've got, and we looked at this briefly the other day, so we've got a lovely limestone slab going in, but you can see that's about 25 mil. I've also got these lovely Italian porphyry sets. They're about 100 mil. So I need to work with this first. That's my deepest material. Okay, we could do it the other way around, could lay the patio and then dig all the scalpings out to get this in, but you know, let's work with our biggest material first. If you're doing a driveway or if you're putting edge retentions in, you'd always work with your thicker material first anyway. So these are about 100 mil. I want to be able to set these on a couple of inches of mortar, of my 4-in-1 sharp sand. So what I really want is, from my finish height, I want about 6 inches. Now I've already measured that with the correct full, and I had 160. So I know I'm probably in the right space at the moment. So all I'm going to do now is transfer those levels across different plots in my garden, tweak it a little bit just so I get some nice falls going towards the beds. We're not all just shoving it all into one direction. String it all out, put our scalps in. We'll get ourselves to that 150, 160 mil below our finish level. Then we know that we're good to start laying our sets. We'll get on with that, and then retrospectively, once all our sets are in, that already gives us our edges. We can then work our scalpings into that where we need to lift it up for our thinner material of our paving. So yeah, that's our next job. Finalize our base work, start getting some sets down. Cheers. I don't even know what day it is, to be honest. It's a little bit soul destroying. We've lost some more time due to heavy rain. Just on that, so although we do have a tent which can keep you covered for the day, when it comes in really thick and heavy, you know, big fat drops coming in, it just washes in off the side, it's washing on the floor. It's just a bit of a non-starter when it's that heavy. Tents are really great for like showers and stuff like that, but we've had about another day and a half of just really heavy rain. So yeah, it puts us behind a little bit. It does hurt a little bit, but we are making progress. The sun's out today just about, so we're going to try and crack on a bit more. So what have we done? We've got our cobble sets paths in now. We have got a few more just to finish off on our trim, but those are coming, so there's no big deal. We've finalized our scalping heights, and we've taken into account our falls and where we want things to go. So our job now is to start getting our flagstones down, our tiles, our slabs, whichever you really want to call it. So this one's going to be the limestone, so we're going to crack on. I think catching up on this job's probably gone now, but look, that's the life of a landscaper. When you work outside, you take the rough with the smooth. So we'll just keep pushing, keep our eye on that quality, make sure. Okay, we just finished our natural stone job in Melksham. It's day whatever. Listen, the job's gone all right, but the weather has not been on our side on this one. I was hoping to do a complete vlog from start to finish, but actually we ended up working under a little 3x3 meter tent. trying to get this job finished because the weather's just been a real pain in the bum. But there you go, life of a landscaper. So there are some bits on this project that we've not been able to get any footage of. So look, this is our first job vlog. I'll try better on the next one, I promise. But there we are, we can see this is our end result. So we've got here beautiful, beautiful. I mean, just look at this slab. So this is a limestone. This is the Marshall's Alluri range called Rustic Ochre. We've just done another job with this as well. Really, really love this stone. Really big fan of it. It's just packed full of character and natural beauty. We've got our Italian porphyry sets that have gone in. These look great as well, and they're going to be bomb proof and last forever and a day. And then all the bedding areas that are left, we've turned that soil over for about 6 to 8 inches into the ground. We've then added some soil conditioner. So this will be ready probably a bit late in the season now, because we're just about coming into August. Might get a few plants in, but certainly for next spring, this customer's going to have a lovely, lovely, well-established garden, hopefully. And we'll look forward to the revisit. But there we are. We got there in the end, despite the weather. Check us out for more content, please. Like and subscribe. Cheers.